DJ PK, we're joined now by Riley Jensen, our college football insider. Riley, good morning.
My dudes, what's happening?
Well, I don't want to talk to you as a college football insider. I want to talk to you as an NFL fan now. Switch hats.
Awesome.
You've watched a lot of NFL football over the years, and we all know in these division things that sometimes teams split, right? There are sweeps, and bad teams get swept and all that, but sometimes there's splits. Do you think if Utah or BYU gets a second shot at Texas Tech, that either one of them or both could split? Maybe it won't come to that. Maybe neither of them get a second shot at it. But if they do, could they pull that off? Or from what you've seen in these first two games, is Texas Tech going to go to that title game and win that title game regardless of who they play?
I feel I totally get what you're saying, and it happens from time to time in high school football as well, where you end up playing a team twice. It happens in Little League football all the time. It is very difficult to beat a team twice unless you're pretty dominant, and that's where I'm going with this. I would love to see BYU or Utah get another shot at them because I think it would be much closer. But I for some reason, I just feel like Texas Tech's too good. Like I feel like they'll win that game. But man, if there was any possible way for Utah or BYU to get into that game, it's going to be closer, and it's going to come down to a couple possession game, and Texas Tech is going to have to make those plays. Now, Texas Tech has been in a game where there's a lot of pressure on them. You know, later in the game. Against Arizona State, they weren't able to pull it off. And so what you really want to do with Texas Tech is you want to see if you can get ahead of them and see how they react to that. Because I think they've been pretty dominant when they've been ahead. But when they're in a game and they give a team confidence, that's the only time that they've really struggled all year. But that's a really good football team, And not because I'm looking at their skill positions and going, wow, this is just – it's because of up front. It's because of their O-line and their D-line. Those guys they win so many battles.
Yeah, no question about that. Obviously, the Cougars on offense didn't get the job done, and it was by far their worst effort. And they got the freshman quarterback and all. And I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to key in on the word that I'm going to use, and the word I'm going to use is rattled. Did you see Bear Bachmeier at all be rattled? Obviously, they didn't play well, but I think there's a difference between not playing well and being rattled.
So I don't know if the exact word is rattled. He saw some things that he's never seen before.
Right, because I don't think he was rattled.
I don't think he was rattled. I think my look at him on the sideline and some of the different things that were going on was, ooh, this is different. And I need to learn. Like, I felt like he went immediately into learning mode. And I kind of like that about him. And there's not a tougher kid. And I think this was more what I was expecting against other teams, not just the best team that they were going to play against. And there were some things in this game that were they were just different looks. And some of the things that, you know, I could go into on the nuanced different looks. I mean, they would have been hard for me as a senior, some of the looks that Texas Tech was throwing. Now, I'm not trying to compare myself to Bear. Bear's a much better quarterback than me. But even as a senior quarterback at Utah State, there were some looks where I thought, oh, yeah, that's open down the sideline, and then the corner kind of sinks. They call it sinking into the coverage, and he was really good at kind of disguising whether he was going to be in the flat or be down the sideline. And so sometimes you're looking at it as a fan going, geez, that guy's wide open underneath. Why didn't he just throw that? And I'm like, well, in real time, when you have 1.2 seconds to actually like make that decision, that felt like the right read to me when I'd see it on the replay. And yeah, it looks like the dump down's wide open, but they had some interesting looks. I think Bear will learn from that. I think it's going to make him a better quarterback. I think that even with this game, you can't watch Bear Bachmeier and not be somewhat enthused about the future. Yes. Were there some mistakes made? Yes. Was it not the greatest statistical game? Yes. Did they do a good job of keeping him in the pocket and not letting him like turn it into a backyard football game and just run around and make plays with his feet? Yes. And that's what good teams are going to try to do to him. Unfortunately, for a lot of defenses in the future, they're not just going to be able to do what Texas Tech did. Texas Tech is really good. They're really good.
I thought from the very first play, and I don't know if A-Rod, if it was designed that way because A-Rod expected the pressure to come from Bear's blind side, or if Bear thought he saw something, so he kind of rolled right to buy himself a little more time. But on that first play, the drop back, the roll, and you see the pressure coming from the left side, it's like they're just going to be hard to block all game long. And all these coaches will tell you it's about blocking and tackling. Like Texas Tech makes that incredibly apparent. And to roll the quarterback away from obvious pressure on the first play, it's like everybody knows what this is about, and everybody knows what you have to do to beat it if you can. I didn't think he was rattled. I thought they just didn't have answers.
Yeah, I think – and look, there was even Chase Roberts, like, I really like his leadership. He blamed a really, really tough fade throw on himself because he was like, look, if I can touch it, I can catch it. I believe that wholeheartedly as a receiver. And one of the things that BYU's been able to do with Parker Kingston and Chase Roberts is they've been able to come up with some – I really feel like wide receivers in football are like dunkers in basketball. And when you get an amazing dunk or when you get an amazing offensive play that's an alley-oop or something like that in basketball, like it can change the momentum of a game. And I think more what Chase Roberts was trying to say is, man, I make that play early in the game and there's some momentum that changes around and it just changes the mindset. And they weren't able to make that play against Texas Tech. And I think that's an interesting thought, that if a couple of those plays that bounced off fingertips or where they were going over the middle and they just weren't able to convert some of those catches, I'd like to see what happened. I still am not predicting a win for BYU because, man, in the two games that I've watched Texas Tech closely, against University of Utah and against BYU, I'm just like, man, this is a good football team. But I want to see, Dampier or Bear Bachmeier or Chase Roberts or some of these guys make some plays against them and see if they can't get some momentum going their way and see if dumping the pressure a little bit on Texas Tech doesn't change the game a little bit. But there were some plays to be had. None of them were easy. And that's what great teams do. They don't make any of the great plays that you make easy. They're going to make you work for everything you get.
How about Utah, man? 13th in the college football poll, the playoff poll. That's a lot of respect for that team. Wouldn't you agree?
I do. I think it. Last week when I talked to you guys, I was real high about them making the playoff, and you guys kind of like brought me down to earth. And like the more I've been thinking about it, I mean, it's a real tall tale to get there, just like you guys were saying. But golly, wouldn't it be fun to see BYU finish out the season undefeated, Utah finish the season undefeated, and just put a lot of pressure on these selection committees to pick two Utah teams to be in the college football playoff? I mean, I think that would be a riot. I know you guys would love it because it's good for business, but I like it just as a follower of high school football and Utah football players and these programs for so long. It's really fun and exciting to me. I've worked with and I get to be around a lot of players on both sides of the ball, so I don't find myself like particularly attached to outcomes as I am attached to players that I love to watch and see them succeed. And so it's just fun, and I get to know their parents through some of the things that I do, and it's just fun to see these Utah kids succeed and play well.
Well, Saturday morning, 10 a.m., with all our teams are playing later in the day, you can watch Notre Dame and Pitt. Because if Notre Dame beats Pitt, that's a playoff berth locked up, and the odds of BYU or Utah getting in go down. I mean, there's other paths, but that's an obvious one for Pitt to beat Notre Dame. And I think the Irish are in if they win that game because they play bad teams after that.
Right. That's kind of the linchpin that I've been talking about where I've been telling people, like, you got to root for Notre Dame to lose, especially if you're a Utah fan. You do not want Notre Dame to finish the season. And you're right, the only chance is kind of this game.
And Riley, I need your help personally again this week.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go.
Oh, boy. Buckle up, as Bowler would say.
How much do I get paid for this?
Not enough.
You chose this profession. You have just a professional duty to help people. It's not about the money.
Know.
You didn't get in it for the money. You're not that kind of person.
I like it when you get a little bit vulnerable and ask for help. It's not your MO, you know? Like, you're not usually reaching out like this. I love
it. So I'm on 114th South, and I'm going west, right?
Yeah.
And there's a car in front of me is in the lane right at State Street, not in the left-hand turn lane, in the lane in which you're going to go down underneath the freeway and continue west. And all of a sudden, the car just stops because it wants to get in the left-hand turn lane. And I literally had to slam on the brakes. The stuff goes flying. The dog practically comes in the front seat. I lay down the horn hard, and I got
because you're from New Jersey.
I got
because
all
you're
upset.
From New Jersey.
No. Nope. I've been criticizing my family because I'll use the horn too, and I'm not from Jersey.
And I yelled, but fortunately, no digits were separated in the vertical position, so I didn't do that. But is there a better way I could have handled that moment? Can you teach me something? Because I lost it briefly, and then I think, is that really the human being I want to be?
Well, okay, so there's a big difference between emotions and reactions, and then your response. So I'm much more worried about your second thought or your second reaction than I am your first. Because your first is pretty natural. Your second seems to be really, really good right now because you're trying to be a better person. You're trying to figure out how you can do better in those situations, and that's all we can ask. In the military, they have a phrase that says, "Embrace the suck, don't stay in the suck." So you gave suck a big hug.
Man, I live in the suck. I don't embrace it.
I know you do, but what I'm saying is sometimes you got to give it a time limit and just say, okay, I got mad there for a second. Time to move on and be the person I want to be. And give yourself a little bit of grace. I mean, dude, we all love you. We love you, and we like to be around you. So, things are going to happen, and we all – look, one of the things that's really hard about my job is if I overreact at a Little League basketball game or something like that, I got everybody going, oh, I thought you were a sports psychologist. Oh, I thought you had it all figured out. I thought you're perfect, So
okay, Jesus.
Right? And sometimes, in my job, I feel like that marriage and family counselor that's divorced, sometimes I have
oh wow.
I have a lot of really good answers. I haven't quite mastered it yet either. So give yourself a little bit of grace. Love yourself. And move forward and just try and do better next time. You're doing great, man. I mean, dude, just the fact that you had this conversation on air is just a beautiful thing to me. Just beautiful.
Even in his prime, Tiger Woods didn't hit every green. Even in his prime. Right. All right, last thing before we let you go. You have an interesting theory. You would advocate a bold coaching hire. Would you care to advocate for it on the air?
Ooh. Yeah.
You just said you're all about the people and you're less about the teams. You just told us that. And there's a person you're very intrigued by and you think it would go very well.
Well, I think there's two, actually.
Oh,
I think there's two bold hires, and I work at Weber State, and I think that these guys at least deserve an interview. I think that Ed Larson, who recently retired from Lehigh, and Eric Kerr should be interviewed for the job at Weber State. And the reason why I think that is because both of these guys have been head coaches. Obviously, Eric Kerr, I mean, his record and everything speaks for itself. Ed Larson had 3 state championships in the last 10 years, but has also coached 7 college All-Americans. Every single quarterback he's ever coached in high school has been All-State. He's even had an Elite 11 quarterback. And these guys know how to coach. And so, to me, I think they both merit an interview because I think it would be good, number one, for Weber State to get a pulse for how things are going, just in the high school ranks, how people are feeling about Weber State. Both of those guys understand the Ron McBride and Lavelle Edwards theory of using returned missionaries, Polynesian athletes, and out-of-state athletes that both Kalani and Kyle have replicated so well, and Jay Hill replicated it at Weber State. And I think those are important conversations to have. Do you go all the way and hire them? Maybe, if you like them enough in the interview, but I think they both merit an interview. And so that's where I'm at. These guys are great guys. I know them really well. I know their presence with their players. I know how much their players love them. And I just think it would be, I put myself in Tim Crompton's in his seat, and it's a hard decision because Weber State does have a proud history, and it does have, a history of putting guys in the NFL now, and there's been some good hires there. But at the same time, if you're really trying to make the best call, you sometimes have to put the pressure on the outside and say, what is really the best decision for Weber State? And I think that would be hard for me because I'm terrible at that. I buckle to peer pressure all the time. So I don't envy these ADs sometimes when they have to make a tough decision.
Riley, we appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay. Take care, guys.
There is Riley Jensen, our college football
I thought he was Merlin Olsen and you're Dick Enberg. Here you're calling prep games.
We did call one prep game, yes. Maybe there'll be more in the future.
Oh, yeah. Well, Dick and Merlin had to start somewhere.
they did, yeah. Yeah. We'll sell some flowers. And
Tom Brookshire and Pat Summerall had to start somewhere.
Old school. Look at you go. The games of your youth. Yeah, we were at the Skyline Green Canyon game.
Of course you were.
On KSLSports.com.
That's what I heard.
Came right down to a 2-point conversion with 3 seconds left or something like that. It was awesome. Good finish. All right, DJ and PK, it's 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.